Hi, I'm author Cleave Bourbon, author of The Howling Path, Red Mage Ascending, and a couple others. This is my grammar series, and I hear people going running away just as I said that. But this is not a regular publishing authorhood, author tube video. This is for those of you who might be an adult, haven't seen this stuff since you were in grade school, and you need a refresher, and maybe you're an author yourself, and you want to remember some of this, but it's been so long since you've taken it. So that's what this is for. I actually teach this in online school, and I do get a lot of parents that ask, "Hey, I would like to take that for a refresher, whatever." And I'm like, "Well, we don't allow that in the platform I work for." So I thought I'd do it here. Give you basically an overview, kind of remind you guys of what it's about. So this one today is on pronouns, and we've done nouns, we've done verbs. This is the pronoun version. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to jump right into it, and without talking about it much more, because I'm sure you're ready for the lesson. All right. So, well, come on. There it goes. All right. Again, I use PowerPoint because this is to keep me on track. It helps me figure out what I'm doing here. I can see in my little picture up on the screen up here that I look white like a ghost. That's just because the screen is white and it's kind of dark in this room. So sorry about the lighting. I'm not really this pale normally, but I guess I probably am. I am kind of a night owl. I'm a vampire. I'm a writer, so of course I stay up working on stuff. Anyway, so what are pronouns? Pronouns take the place of nouns. What does that mean? Well, it means that if you have nouns like John, and you say John drove to John's house because John forgot to turn off John's coffee maker, you're having to repeat John over and over again because we don't have any pronouns to replace it, right? So that's how things would look if we didn't have pronouns. That would be a disaster. It'd be horrible. Mark taught Mark's class because Mark needed to educate Mark's friends, and it's just horrible. So because we do have pronouns, we can actually replace John and just say John one time. We can say John drove to his house, because he forgot to turn off his coffee maker. I guess I forgot to write because in there. It's supposed to be John drove to his house because he forgot to turn off his coffee maker. All right, so we can use his and he. His is what's called, it's like nouns if you remember the noun lesson, if you were here for that, the apostrophe S or the S apostrophe is called a possessive noun. His, hers, so forth. Those are called possessive pronouns. But anyway, so because we do have pronouns, we can replace the noun with the pronoun, and we can say his and he instead of saying John over and over and over again, which would be horrible. So in order to understand pronouns better, we have to understand what a subject and an object is. Now, this particular definition here is kind of long, but I'll shorten it here in just a moment. But the subject of a sentence is the main noun of the sentence or pronoun of the sentence, and is the noun that does the action or interacts with the verb. An object of the sentence is a noun or pronoun that does not interact with the verb of the sentence and often receives the action of the verb. So that's a big long-winded way of saying this. Subjects take the action in the sentence. They're the ones that interact with the verb. The object is the one that receives the action from the verb, but they don't do any action. All right, so these are color-coded. The red are the subjects, and this blue color is the object. So when you're talking about pronouns, you're talking about pronouns like this. He punched her. Okay, now he is the subject of the sentence. Okay, he's the one doing the punching. That's the subject. So we call that the subjective case pronoun. Okay, her is not doing anything. She's not interacting with the verb, but she's receiving the action of being punched. She's receiving the action of the subject. So we call it the object or the objective case pronoun. So because he punched her, she told on him. So now she is the subject. So she is the subjective pronoun because it's interacting with the verb told, and then him is the objective pronoun receiving the action of being told on. So the good news is, so basically what we're looking here is he and she are both subjects of the sentence, so we call those the subjective pronoun. Her and him are the object of the sentence, therefore they are the objective pronoun. So the good news is they're not interchangeable. Her is not going to be in the subjective spot. Him will not be in the subjective spot. He is not going to be in the objective spot, and she would not be in the objective spot. So in other words, you wouldn't say her punched he or him told on she. You wouldn't do that because her and him do not belong in the subject as a subject, and he and she does not belong as an object. So therefore he and she will always be subjects, and her and him will always be objects. And to make that a little bit more clear, let me pop over here into this chart. This is a little bit better way of showing it. So we have our subjective pronouns here and our objective pronouns here. The perspective is first person, second person, third person. First person perspective, you use pronouns like I and we and so forth, mine, ours. Second person is you or your. And the third person, this is just like writing a book or writing a story. Third person is he, she, and they, and so forth. All right. So in the English language, what we normally do is we have the subject first, usually. Then we have a verb that comes in the middle, and then usually the object is the last. Now, these can be what's called an inverted sentence. You can turn it around, especially when you talk about an interrogative sentence. Interrogative, think of the word interrogation. Interrogative means it's a question, because when you interrogate somebody, you ask them questions. So interrogate, interrogative, same root word. So an interrogative sentence would be reversed, like, are you going to the store? Are is the verb, and it's first, and the subject is you, and it's second. So that's inverted. So a lot of times interrogative sentences are like that. But most of the time when you have like a regular declarative sentence or a statement, you have a subject, a verb, and an object like this, in this order, going this direction. All right, so knowing that, these are all objective. I'm sorry, I just said that backwards, didn't I? These are all subjective. These are all objective. So these are never, me, us, him, her, and them will never be in the subjective spot. I, we, he, she, and they will not be in the objective spot. You, of course, as you can see, can be objective or subjective. This would be like, you are my friend. That would be subjective, you. Or you can say, I would like to become friends with you. And then you is objective case. So that's the way it works. There's another one here that's missing. It's it. So it can also be on both sides. It is a foregone conclusion that, I'm an English teacher. You should be okay with it. Say it can be both as well. And then this is possessive case. It's just like the possessive nouns. These show ownership. So if you're talking about first person, it's like, that's my that's my show, that's my ship, that's my car, that car's mine, that's our house, that house is ours. First person. Hey, that house is theirs, or that's hers or his, and so forth. So you would write sentences like, I am friends with her. So it'd be I as a subject, then her, like here's the objective, or something like that. Okay, you'd never say her is my friend, or I am friends with she. Okay, that would not work. Even though sometimes they sound correct, they're not correct. So let's look at the next page, and I'll show you what I mean with and I'll show you how to actually figure this stuff out, because it can be daunting sometimes, or hard, especially when you're editing your work, to know what you're looking at. But so we're gonna look at it this way. All right. So most of the people, when you're in English class, back when, depending on how old you are, if you're my age and you went to school in the 70s and 80s, then we always had English teachers that were drilling in the I. It's taught in I. It's taught in I, not taught in me, or not me and Todd. I was always drilling that into us. The best way to check yourself if you're unsure, because a lot of people will say, Dad and me went fishing, especially in Texas. Dad and me went fishing, and we caught some fish. Anyway, so that's absolutely 100% wrong, because me, if you look back on the chart from the page before, is objective. So it can't be here in the subject spot. We know this is the subject spot because here's the verb, went. So the pronoun interacting with the verb is I or me. So the best way to check this, let me go ahead and tell you this way. Best way to check yourself is, don't even worry about what it's with. This is a compound subject, by the way. Don't even worry about that part. Just start with the pronoun. Just use the pronoun itself, and look at the rest of the sentence. Use it with the verb. I went to the swimming hole. Yes. Me went to the swimming hole. No, that sounds really weird. It's a caveman. Me went swimming. Obviously it's not me. It can't be me. So when you say Todd and me went to the swimming hole, that's wrong, because that would be the same as saying me went to the swimming hole. And that wouldn't work. So that tells you that me cannot be used in that spot, because that's the subjective case spot. All right. Let's move on to the next one. She wants to talk to me and Todd, or she wants to talk to I and Todd. Obviously, by hearing this, you can say she wants to talk to me and Todd, not I and Todd. Again, the way you check yourself, get rid of the and Todd and just use the pronoun as the object by itself. She wants to talk to me. Yes. She wants to talk to I. No. She wants to talk to I. No. Okay. Now, where people mess this up is if they say she wants to talk to Todd and I. Where are you going? Where are you going? We're going to talk to Sheila. Why? She wants to talk to Todd and I. Okay, that sounds right, doesn't it? That's not right. It doesn't matter if it's I and Todd or Todd and I. This is the objective case spot. Therefore, it cannot ever be I. No, no, no. So she wants to talk to Todd and me. So you're saying, where are you going? We're going to talk to Sheila. What does she want? Oh, she wants to talk to Todd and me. That's correct, because me is objective. All right. Just like you can't put me over here, you can't put I over here either. They don't do that. So if you're ever wondering, if it's Todd and I went to the swimming hole, yes, that's correct. It's never me went to the swimming hole. It's never she wants to talk to I and Todd, or Todd and I. That's wrong. All right. So that's why you check yourself. Just forget about whatever else is with the pronoun. Just use the pronoun and it won't steer you wrong. Same thing with plural. So if you're looking at the plural version of I and me, which is us and we, now both of these sound correct. We teachers love giving homework. Us teachers love giving homework. They both sound fine, but what you need to do to check yourself is, because love is the verb here, right? So just get rid of teachers and just use the pronoun in this spot, because remember, you're wanting the pronoun to be used with the verb. So us love giving homework. No. We love giving homework. Yes. See, it works very well. Just use the pronoun with the verb and you'll see it. It's never going to be us love giving homework. It's going to be we love, right? Same thing with the last one here. If it's reversed and you're in the objective spot, the principal scolded us. Yes. The principal scolded we. No. See, I'm not even looking at teachers because, that's just an extra. We're just ending it with the pronoun. So if you're ever wondering if this happened, if you're ever wondering if you're saying it right or you're writing it correctly, whatever else you put with it, just use the pronoun itself. What is receiving the action of being scolded? Because that's our verb, right? We are being scolded, or is us being scolded? The principal scolding us, not we, right? So that's the way you check yourself. And this is pretty simplistic, but when we get to the next page, I'm going to show you something that's a little bit harder, because nobody knows how to use who and whom, right? Here's some other pronouns. So if you're wondering about who and whom, who is subjective. So I just taught you who is subjective, whom is objective. So who is your friend? You're friends with whom? Simple as that. You would never say whom is your friend, or you're friends with who? See, that sounds correct. That's wrong. You're not going to say you're friends with who? It's you're friends with whom. All right, because who is subjective, whom is objective. All right, another place where this gets mixed up is when you use it as like, to whom are you referring? To whom are you referring? That's the same thing as saying you are referring to whom. So it's just reversed. So it messes up people sometimes too. Now there's another pronoun here, like the word that. Those are called relative pronouns, and they're called relative pronouns. It's like, this is the coffee that I like to buy, which technically is grammatically correct, but it sounds weird because you don't need that. You don't need that relative pronoun, because that is replacing this is the coffee that I like to buy. You just say, this is the coffee I like to buy. You don't have to say that. This is the coffee I like to buy. You don't have to use that relative pronoun. So some of these, just remember, any word like this that replaces a noun in the sentence is a pronoun. So it can be a relative pronoun. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be subjective or objective necessarily. Right. This is the coffee that I like to buy. This is the coffee I like to buy. Okay. So the other thing with pronouns that's important to understand is the antecedent. Ante means before, so the antecedent is the word before. So basically the antecedent is the noun that's being replaced by the pronoun. So in sentences like Chris went to the store by himself, himself is the pronoun. It's replacing Chris, which is a proper noun. So himself in the sense is Chris. So himself is replacing Chris. So Chris would be the antecedent. It's the word being replaced by the pronoun. So the reason why this is important is because the antecedent and the pronoun, it's called antecedent pronoun agreement. They have to agree, meaning, how back in the day when they said the noun and pronoun have to agree. If you have a plural noun, a plural, if you have did I say noun and pronoun? I meant noun and verb. If you have a noun and verb, if you have a plural noun, you have to have a plural verb. If you have a singular noun, you have to have a singular verb. Same thing with antecedent and pronoun. So the way it works is, like the dog wagged his tail. You can't say the dog wagged their tail because there is plural and dog is singular. That would not be an agreement. So here's one that's plural. Most students want lockers, but many are not responsible enough. Most students want lockers, but they are not responsible enough. Could also be in here. But students is plural, therefore the pronoun that's replacing it has to be plural. Here the dog is singular. The pronoun replacing the dog has to be singular. This can be its as well, because when it comes to animals, if you know your dog or cat is a girl or a boy dog, you can say the dog wagged his tail or the dog wagged her tail. But if you're like, I don't know, looking at a badger and the badger is like trying to eat your face off, I'm not going to pick up that badger to see if it's a girl badger or a boy badger. I'm just going to call it an it. Hey, look, it's wagging its tail. And probably a badger probably wouldn't be wagging its tail. It probably would be doing something else. It'd probably be like baring its teeth trying to eat your face. So I'm going to call it an it and be done with it, right? So anyway, you can say with animals and stuff, especially, you can say it. That's like the neuter pronoun. Now, the reason why I was kind of hesitating there is because the English language, if you speak Spanish or if you speak a language that has genders like Latina or Latino or something like that, hermano or hermana, brother or sister. English used to be that way. We used to have genders, but English got rid of them at some point. We still have a couple of words that have gender roles. The word blonde, for example, the word blonde, if it's blonde with an E, that's a girl. If it's blonde without the E, it's a boy. We say blonde, the blonde boy ran down the street. The blonde boy would not have an E on the end of it. The blonde girl ran down the street. The blonde would have an E on it. Most people don't know that, but we do have a couple of words like that. It's is one of those words that you probably just want to use with animals. You probably won't want to use it with people. You might make someone mad. You can if you want, but it's up to you. But I personally would not do that. So dog wagged its tail. Good. All right. Anyway, that was my poor attempt at being a joke. I'm not trying to be insensitive to anybody out there. So please don't unsubscribe, because I was just joking. I was just trying to make a joke about dogs and cats. So anyway, vague pronouns. So this is something that back in the day when I was a little English student and not an English teacher, I would write a sentence like this. The teachers told the students that they would have to come to school over break. And my teacher would write a big X through they and write, "Who's they?" And I had no idea what the teacher was talking about, because what do you mean who's they? It's the teachers. They told the students, it's the teachers. Because I was inferring who they was. But when you look at the sentence, there's two nouns in this sentence and there's one pronoun. So what's happening here is this one pronoun could be replacing students, or it could be replacing teachers. Both of these are plural nouns. Same thing with this one up here. Take the radio out of the car and fix it. Well, what's it? Is it the car or is it the radio? Now, again, you can infer that it's probably the radio, because why would you take the radio out of the car to fix the car? Unless the problem is right behind the radio, right? So, but this is called a vague pronoun because we don't know what the antecedent is. We don't know what it is replacing. Is it the car or is it the radio? So you should try to avoid writing sentences like this. You should take the radio out and fix it, or something like that. Don't put the car in there. Or see that radio in that car? Yeah, take the radio out and fix it. See, that way it is just referring to the radio. Or the teachers told the students that they, because if you look at it, it could be saying the teachers told the students that the students would be coming to school over break. The teachers told the students that the teachers would have to come to school over break. We don't know who they is. It could be either one. So you should avoid vague pronouns, making where it's unclear what when when it's unclear what noun the pronoun is replacing. All right, I'm trying to hurry and I'm tongue-tying myself because I don't want this video to be, 30 minutes long. You can rewind if you need to go back and look at some stuff. All right, reflexive and intensive pronouns. Reflexive pronouns are only used after I or me or the plural of I or me. And they're called reflexive because they usually end in self and they're referring back to another pronoun. So in other words, they don't have an antecedent. There's not a noun that they're replacing. It's a pronoun replacing another pronoun. So I will be going by myself. Myself is replacing I, which is already a pronoun. So we call myself a reflexive pronoun. Do you want me to go by myself? Myself is replacing me, which is already a pronoun. Again, it's a reflexive. All right. And the reason why I said it has to be after I or me or the plural is because if you look down here where it says other reflexive pronouns, you have ourselves, themselves. That would be like the plural of I is we or us. Or like we will be going by ourselves. They will be going by themselves. See, you have to, well, I guess it's not only after I or me, also they could be in there. But anyway, it's basically a reflexive pronoun is a pronoun that's taking the place of another pronoun. It always ends in self. All right, an intensive pronoun is a pronoun that's exactly like a reflexive pronoun, but they do not necessarily refer to another pronoun. Okay, usually an intensive pronoun is right beside. When you say intensive, like intensive care or intensify, or an intensifier like a very or really, and we're talking about adverbs and adjectives, which we'll be doing next. You're talking about it's kicking it up a notch, you're intensifying it. So when you look at intensify or intensive pronoun, right here you have I myself baked the cake. Okay, myself is replacing I. It's right beside it. It's just you could say I baked the cake without myself, and it would still work. That tells you that it's an intensifying pronoun. Because intensifying pronouns, you can usually eliminate them from the sentence, and the sentence still makes sense. Like this one: the boys made the food by themselves. If you took out themselves, because that's talking about the boys, then it would say the boys made the food. That still makes sense. So you can take out the intensive pronoun, and it still makes sense. But anyway, they're usually next to the pronoun or the noun or pronoun they're intensifying, but not always. The sentence will still make sense if you remove it. So just remember that it intensifies something. So this is intensifying boys because the boys themselves, or this is intensifying I because I myself. So that's why it's called an intensive pronoun. You really don't have to, I know I'm not giving a really great explanation of the intensive pronoun, but you really don't have to know that, really. Do you? I don't know. When I'm writing or I'm editing papers or I'm grading papers or anything, I don't even worry about intensive pronouns because they're kind of invisible. And to be honest, I don't really even write intensive pronouns. Like if I wrote I myself baked the cake, I probably didn't write that. I'd probably just write I baked the cake or the boys made the food. I probably wouldn't even put I might put the boys made the food by themselves or something like that, but I probably wouldn't do it this way. But anyway, that's what it is, just in case you want to know. All right, so I'm going to look at a couple of practice things here, and then we'll be done. So Tim had to walk to school by himself. What is the pronoun in the sentence? I'll give you a couple of seconds. If you said himself, you're correct. Now, what's the antecedent? Now, remember, the antecedent is the noun that himself is replacing. So who is himself? If you said Tim, you're right. Tim is the antecedent. Himself is the pronoun. All right, what about this one? The dog happily wagged its tail. What's the pronoun in this sentence? If you said it's, ding, ding, ding. What's it's replacing? What is it? The dog. Dog is the antecedent. Right. All right, this one. Chris said, I'll be going by myself. Uh-oh, we're in dialogue now. Here's where we're getting into more of the authorship stuff. We're in dialogue. So we have I, we have myself. Those both look like pronouns, right? So myself is reflexive. I'm just going to help you with this one. Myself is reflexive. It's replacing I. Okay, because I will be going by myself. Who is myself? Myself is I, right? So I is replacing Chris. So Chris is the antecedent of I. All right. So don't get confused when it's done in this kind of format. It's in dialogue. Who cares? It's still saying Chris said I, so I is referring to Chris. So that means Chris is the antecedent. And then I will be going myself is what Chris said. Myself is replacing I. Simple. All right. Jane had to be nice to one another. I'm sorry. Tim and Jane had to be nice to one another. This has a compound subject. A compound subject just means it has two things in the subject spot. You have Tim and Jane. They're both the subject. They both had to be. This is the verb phrase, had to be. Had to be nice. And then to one another is the pronoun here. It's two words. There are two-word pronouns. So one another is the pronoun, and it's replacing Tim and Jane. Tim and Jane are the antecedents. And then finally, the day seemed like it would never end. This video seemed like it would never end, right? It is the pronoun, and day is the antecedent because it is replacing the day. So to recap, just to remind you guys, subjective pronouns are the pronouns that are in the subject spot. They're ones that interact with the verb. Objective pronouns are in the object spot of the sentence at the end. They receive the action of the verb. They don't do the action of the verb. That's what subjective pronouns are and objective pronouns are. Possessive pronouns are pronouns that show ownership. It's, mine, ours, and so forth. Possessive nouns have apostrophes, like apostrophe S, S apostrophe. Pronouns never have apostrophes. So if you write it and you write it IT apostrophe S, you're saying it is. You're doing a contraction. So if you're trying to use the pronoun it's, you do not use the apostrophe. It's ITS. All right. So that's what I need to explain. Normally my grammar videos like this don't get a lot of views, and it's okay. Those of you who need it, that's what it's for. It's for you. But I like to do a little bit of trickery sometimes. So if you watch the video all the way through and you didn't just go and cut it down, then I'm going to tell you some news. I'm rebranding and rewriting my epic fantasy series. I'm doing the second edition. It's got new covers. It has a lot of new wording in it. And I'm within a few hundred words of finishing my entire fantasy series. So that's in that the Shadows of the First Trine. I keep pointing out the wrong one. And then I'm going to be focusing on Red Mage and the Tournament of Mages. But I just want to tell you, I'm going to be revealing that new cover here pretty soon. Please go to my Instagram. It's Cleave Bourbon. And it only has like 15 people there who are I've just kind of started it. I'm just getting all spreading out on social media. So if you're on Instagram, go to Cleave Bourbon and follow me there and be one of the more than 15 people who are doing that already. Also on Twitter at Cleave, it's Writer Cleave Bourbon, just like it is here with YouTube. And I just started Pinterest, Cleave Bourbon. And what else did I do? There's some other stuff out there. But anyway, I'm trying to get everywhere because when I get this series ready to go, I'm going to start releasing it. And then I'm going to be doing a lot of videos on that. I spent all day today working on editing it and working on, making it as cool as I possibly can. I'm sending it to the editor today. So anyway, if you stayed to the end of the video, great, thanks. If you're not subscribed or whatever, please subscribe because I will be doing the rest of the parts of speech. Our next part of speech will be adjectives and adverbs. So in a week or two, I'll put out the video for it. My next video on Friday, I haven't really decided what I'm going to do yet, but I'll have one probably on Friday. But it'll be over authorship. It'll be something to do with writing or editing or something. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. I will see you next time. Thank you very much. See ya.